Blessed be everyone. Blessed be. So, okay, I wasn't really planning on going live tonight. I literally worked all day. I've been up since 7 a.m. and currently, right now, it is almost 10 o'clock, 10 p.m., and I've been up since 7 a.m. So, I really wasn't planning on like doing a live tonight. But when I was at work earlier, I was remembering when um one of my old coven mates and we were having like a sleepover one night and we were drinking like fire water and we were watching these like really crazy evangelical testimonies. And I remembered how much fun we had doing that. And I just recently finished filming my Season of the Witch video, which is on Patreon right now for early release. But I figured also in honor of Witches season, we should maybe watch some testimonies together because there are some crazy, crazy testimonies here on YouTube. And I will say that if evangelical kind of babble is triggering for you or upsetting, this might not be the video for you. Also, I don't necessarily mean to be disrespectful in any way, but also it's comical, it's funny. And I'm once again streaming from my laptop with my terrible laptop built-in webcam because I'm using StreamYard to also use this like screen share feature, which will probably end up getting this video demonetized. Um, Maybe, I don't know. We're gonna test it out tonight and just kind of see. I've never done this style of video before where I screen share content. um I think under like the fair use, as long as I'm making commentary, I think it's fair game. Not really sure. um but yeah. So one okay, I don't know how many of you are familiar with some of this like evangelical rhetoric, right? That's very much focused on like saving souls. And um, there's this kind of like technique, and there's a channel called Hellbound Heathen. I believe that's still his channel name, but he makes a lot of videos about this kind of stuff. And if you enjoy some of what I'm going to share with you, I highly recommend that you go check out his channel because he does a much better job than what I'm going to do. And his videos are hilarious. But anyway, so there's this rhetoric essentially that all of these testimonies follow. It's almost as if it's like a play and they're like acting, because normally it's a young woman who, comes from a broken home and, listened to rock and roll and started smoking and doing, and was possibly also in their youth and dropped out of school and was alternative and goth and whatever, and started practicing magic. And then things got too real and they called out for mercy from Christ, and Jesus showed up, and now they're a born again or they're a Christian or whatever. That's basically the narrative that this kind of follows. So pretty much all of these testimonies, I could show you a slew of them, but basically all of them are going to follow this same sort of sequence of events. So let's get into it, shall we? So this one is Spooky Witchcraft Memories, Life Before Christ by the Christian. What is this? Hold on. This is by, who made this again? Oh yeah, the Christian Broadcasting Network. Oh, are you guys ready? Let's get into it. Hold on. Can we hear this? Hold on. Can we hear this? Hold on. Let me make sure I'm doing this right. Can we hear this? Hold on. Let me make sure I'm doing this. Okay, hold on a second. Let me fix this. Okay, hold on a second. Is that a magic 8 ball? Let me stop sharing the screen and try this again. Okay. Okay, I have to share it with the audio. Yeah, that's probably helpful. Okay. Okay, so it should be better this time. Hey, Taya. So we're looking at basically like witchcraft propaganda that is propagated by evangelical Christianity, and we're criticizing it for the narrative that it is, because they all kind of follow this same rhetoric, which I had talked about just, I think, before you hopped on, but we're going to get into it. If you aren't already aware of like kind of the sequence of events that all these stories go in, I can literally sit here and show you 6 different stories, and they're all going to follow the exact same pattern. And this is a pattern also used even in like literature of like the hero's journey, like those 12 sort of sequence of like the rise and fall of the hero in the story. So anyway, hopefully it'll be better this time now that I'm actually sharing the audio.
Like ghost stories. When I read ghost stories,
what started out as a childhood fascination with ghosts and goblins became a journey that led Ginger Howell into the occult.
I was always attracted to scary stories, to like ghost stories. When I read ghost stories, it excited me and it thrilled me and it kind of made me scared all at the same time.
Even though
Okay, same. Ghost stories also excite me. So, per. And I don't know about you guys, but I will say that for myself, from a very early age, I loved all things kind of taboo or weird. Like my whole family was into horror movies and scary movies. I think I probably started watching like Jason and Freddy and Michael Myers, like, I don't know, probably around the time I was like maybe 9 or 10. Like, it was kind of like our family's thing. We loved that kind of stuff. And I loved like scary stories they tell in the dark. And I don't know if any of you remember like Goosebumps, but I loved that too. Like Plant Daddy or The Tower or stories about werewolves, the Magic 8 Ball, right? Okay, let's get back into this, you guys.
Though Ginger's family attended church, her mother had no objections to her daughter's interest in the occult. She even bought Ginger an unlikely Christmas present.
I was 13 years old. My mom had bought me a satanic Bible just because.
Okay, so when she was 13 years old, her mom bought her a satanic Bible. I don't see any issue with that. I see no issue with that. I see no issue with buying your child a Bible of any kind, a satanic Bible, a Christian Bible, any holy book. I don't see an issue with that.
Because I had picked it up in a store and had been flipping through it, and she noted my interest in it, and she went back and bought it.
Ginger's life took a drastic turn when her parents divorced.
My mom remarried a man who was very abusive and physically abusive, and he was an alcoholic.
Okay, I want to come in here and just say that pay attention to this aspect, because in all of the stories, there's always going to be some amount of substance abuse. That's always going to be part of the narrative. And then there's also usually going to be like abuse, like childhood abuse, um, substance abuse, addiction, things like that. So that's going to be in all of these stories.
And so my home life went to one of relative peace to one of just complete chaos.
So, in search of stability, Ginger studied spell books and, as a young teen, became convinced that turning to witchcraft would give her the security she desired.
I did a lot of spells of protection because my home life was so chaotic and I had abuse issues with my stepdad that a lot of the spells I did were for protection. And I felt that they had worked.
Okay, so this is like at this time, we're like in our teens, we're experimenting with spirituality, we're finding comfort in our in practicing our spirituality, and we're doing spells for protection that we feel are working. Uh,
Because out of all the children, I got beaten the less.
you guys, it's not funny. She got beaten the less.
Doing rituals and spells gave me a sense of power. Reading tarot cards I thought was a way to see into the future and what was going to happen, so I wouldn't be surprised by things that would come my way.
By the time Ginger was in college, she considered herself a Wiccan and joined a coven of witches.
Oh my God, she considered herself a Wiccan. Oh my God.
We thought that we were just pagans, that we were worshiping nature as witches. We didn't feel like we were evil or wrong. And in fact, most witches don't believe in Satan. They believe that there's a goddess, and it's almost like goddess worship.
Is anyone else just like already cringing at this point? Anyone else? Because I this is already super cringe for me. 10 out of 10 on the cringe factor.
The coven seemed to provide the close bond Ginger lacked with her own family.
It gave me a sense of belonging and people that were also like-minded, and it gave me a sense of, I think, security because I felt like I could deal with my problems that way, that any problem that we were having, we could deal with it by making a ritual.
Gin-
Okay, now I will say I think that is like a wonderful and very empowering thing that you were able to find a healthy group of like-minded people, doing your Wiccan goddess worship and finding creative solutions through ritual and ceremony for very mundane problems. Cool.
Ginger and the other members of her coven cast spells. Some, they claimed, healed people. Other spells were for protection. But every once in a while, even the witches were frightened.
But every once in a while, even the witches were frightened. Babes. Okay.
We actually saw beings manifest in the room that we were in, and they were very tall.
Let me say this. If you're doing conjurations and summonings and then stuff appears, yeah, yeah, that's the point, babes. That's the point. You're conjuring. Oh my gosh. We would sometimes see spirits after we summoned them, and they would be big, tall, shadowy figures, and even the witches were frightened. Even the witches.
Probably 6.5, 7 foot tall, and they were dressed in robes, and they stood behind those points on the circle that we had drawn. And we didn't talk about it during the ritual, but then after it was done, we said, "Did you guys see that?" And we all had seen the same beings.
These supernatural manifestations scared Ginger, to a point.
Once I was doing a spell, and I was in a room, and it was rather dark, and I had candles lit for the ritual, of course, and a shadowy figure came to the window of my room on the outside of the house, and my dog started howling, not barking, but howling. And at that moment, I turned around and I saw the shadowy figure almost trying to get in, and I blew out the candles and ran from the room.
Okay. So the shadowy spirit figure couldn't just manifest into your ritual. The shadowy spirit figure was prevented from entering your space by a mundane door. Not by any sort of circle or boundary, magical boundary, but by the door or the window, and that they were trying to break in. It's not it, babes.
All the time that I was reading tarot cards or doing things that would frighten me, I would almost be repulsed by it, and I would put it down for a while, but then something would draw me back to it, always.
But not all of Ginger's friends were witches. One was a Christian.
Oh, thank God that she had a Christian friend of the faith. Thank God. And she just lived on her, and I bet she just prayed for her, and I bet she just tried to get her to the Lord. Okay, because she was a light in this world. 10 times out of 10, that's the narrative. That's going to be projected here. That she was just living on her and doting on her and praying over her, washing her in the blood, and just waiting for her to come to Jesus. That's literally what the narrative is here. Captain Christian to the rescue. Literally. And I love this, Red. That's just rude not to say hello. Literally, you summon spirits and then they show up and you get freaked out and you blow your candles out. Come on, witch. Come on.
She was very insistent that I needed to go to church with her. And so I began to go to church with her just to make her quit asking me.
Ginger enjoyed the church services and went again, but she didn't see a conflict between Christianity and witchcraft until she started dating Jack, a backslidden Christian who knew nothing.
Y'all, a backslidden Christian. The horror. Oh my gosh, Morgan. She says she doesn't do protection, or she says she does protection spells from a young child, then proceeds to tell us how much she sucked at protection spells. Right, right, right.
About Ginger's other religion.
I had just gotten a new deck of tarot cards, and I was real excited about them because the pictures on them were really neat and a very expensive deck. And so I had called Jack in and showed him the tarot card deck. And I put him on the table, and he acted like I had thrown a snake down. And he said, "Get those away from me." And that was the first.
But this backslidden Christian man knew right then and there. It was like it was a snake before his eyes. He said, I rebuke this in the name of the Lord. Oh, there's the twist. A man. Cringe, babe. Cringe.
First time that anybody had ever reacted negatively to stuff that I had been involved in.
As Ginger found love and acceptance from church members, she realized she needed to make some major changes if she was going to follow what the Bible said about avoiding evil influences.
I started breaking off from the coven right away. They would call me, they would.
Okay, so let me get this straight. So, broken home, drugs, abuse in the home, growing up, finds witchcraft as an early teen, which I love how we never came back to the Satanic Bible that her mom purchased her when she was 13. Like, they just kind of threw that into this story as like a buzzword, essentially. Like, notice how we haven't gotten back to the Satanic Bible. They just threw that in the very beginning. Probably to make like demonize her mother's choices or, make her family out to seem like religiously ignorant because, of course, Christianity is the only one way. So that was going on. She found peace and comfort in witchcraft. She started using spells of protection, which she felt like worked because she was the least out of her siblings. And then later, as a young adult, joined slash formed a coven. Not really sure what coven this was. Um, don't even know if it really was something I would consider to be a coven. Not that I think I'm the authority on what covenry is, but like none of these testimonies ever reference any real notable coven in the craft, like ever. Never any sort of BTW, nothing. Like ATW, BTW, nothing. Like there's never any. It's like they just know this much neo-paganism and they just try to throw that out there like it validates or makes real the story. And the funny thing is, for those of us who like really are witches and who really do live and breathe the craft, when you watch this kind of stuff, you can instantly smell the BS. But this content is not content that's really curated so much actually for us witches. It's curated for testimonials and deliverances in their own evangelical communities. And those people don't know that that's not the tea. So anyway, she meets this man, and shortly after meeting this man, he was like, "Oh God, tarot cards, that's a serpent, blur, blur, blur." And she starts going to church and she's hanging out with this man folk who's a backslidden Christian. And she just stops hanging out with her coven, who I thought she found all this solace and protection and love from this group of people. And she just kind of ignores them, stops showing up, basically abandons her coven. I can see why, like, maybe a group of people who you theoretically oathed yourself to might feel maybe not even mad or upset, but even hurt that you just like have ran off with this backslidden Christian man folk and you done disappeared.
Would threaten me. They really were angry that I had left their path and started going down this other path. And finally, I had to change my phone number and just sever all ties. And I moved to a different house, and they couldn't track me after that.
Ginger.
They couldn't track her because she moved to a different house and changed her phone number. Because witches need those things to track somebody down if they really wanted to. Jeez.
And Jack married and enjoyed being a part of the church family. But Ginger still didn't understand what a relationship with God was all about.
When I was pregnant with my first child, I began to wonder what to teach him, because at that time I was no longer in the coven. I had not been doing witchcraft or any occult things, and I was wondering what would I teach my child.
Ginger found the answer to
This is a totally irrelevant side note to what we are watching right now, as far as what's currently going on. But oh no, she married him. Girl, we don't know that yet. Do we even know if it was his baby? Do we even know that for sure? Was she having out of wedlock? Oh my God. The dark side. It done got in her brain and scrambled her. Um, I hope that this woman was paid well for this. I really do. I really do.
To her question late one night. She was watching television while nursing her son.
I landed on the 700 Club program because a Satanist was giving his testimony, and he was talking about how he was a satanic high priest and how he wanted to come and talk to a pastor about having a relationship with Christ. I thought if the Lord could accept him being a Satanist, then he can accept me for all that I had done and forgive me. And so that's when I said the sinner's prayer at 2 o'clock in the morning watching TV.
And at 2 o'clock in the morning, that's when she said the sinner's prayer. And she was delivered, and Jesus sat right there in her living room with her and just sat next to her and just witnessed to her.
I became a Christian.
Ginger put her tarot cards, incense, robes, and spell books in the trash.
Her tarot cards, robes, and spell books in the trash. In the trash.
So the next day, when I took the bag out to the curb and the garbage men took it away, I felt like a whole burden had been lifted from me. I felt much lighter after all that stuff was gone.
Ginger steadily grew in her faith.
Before I became a Christian, I had a lot of doubt. I had a lot of anxiety. I never had peace in my home life or as a child or when I was involved in the occult.
I'm confused because I thought we had peace with the coven, and when you were doing spell work and creating ritual to solve mundane problems, was all that just like, were you just making that part up? Because now you're saying you never found peace up until now. Hmm. Hmm.
But since becoming a Christian, I have moments of just pure peace that you just can't put any price on. Jesus is Lord of my life, and He is alive, He is real, and I just get such a sense of security from Him, knowing that He's there and He is in control of all things.
Okay, and the 700 Club is also like putting that message out there. So I love how in the testimony, they also made sure to have the actress promote and support their business, their for-profit business. Don't know what happened with the man folk. Don't know if he's the father of that child. Don't know if the child's even in the church. I mean, that's the end of the narrative there. And now suddenly, because this woman is a Christian, um, everything just fell into place. And she's just had so much peace, so much peace. So, and she just has moments of bliss. Honestly, I think it's funny with stuff like this because it really is like these people are completely brainwashed and almost like are literally blinded by the light. Like literally. Literally. Okay. Let's get another one. Do you guys want more? Do you guys want to do another one? Maybe we'll have like a little lo-fi music break moment. I'm going to pull up the next one. One second. Okay, we are back. Let me get this going for us. Okay, so that was our first one. We're going to do another one now. And remember some of the same themes from our last testimony. Some of those same themes, okay? Because you're going to find them in this testimony too, because this is always part of the narrative. Always. So let me make sure that I share this with audio. Okay. Let's get into it.
You and protect you from harm. The people you trust the most, who are supposed to take care of you and protect you from harm, actually did the harm.
When Patricia was 5 years old, she was initiated into a secret satanic cult through a series of sick and abusive rituals.
I was whisked away by family members to take part in a ceremony, a ritual. In the basement, there was a altar that was made out of wood, and on the floor of the concrete was a pentagram painted with red paint. There was family members and also a cult member.
Yeah, 5 years old. 5 years old. And the pentagram was painted with red paint, y'all. The pentagram had red paint.
Around in a circle around the altar. They were chanting in some unknown language. I just remember being pinned down, strapped down, and then a ritual performed on me.
Patricia says she was raped and pledged to Satan.
This is literally not a thing that is done. This is literally like QAnon propaganda. 100%.
But the horror didn't stop there. Satanic rituals and animal sacrifice continued throughout her childhood.
We were forced.
You know what also is sick is they want to talk about satanic rituals and animal sacrifice and a 5-year-old witnessing this. But how many devoutly practicing, Christians are having their children consume the blood of their God and eat his body? Okay.
To drink the blood and to eat eyes, and if we didn't, we were tormented until we did. And the eyes were to give us power to see into the spirit realm.
For Patricia,
Now, I can only speak for myself here, witches, but I don't need to eat eyeballs to see spirits or communicate with the spirit realm. That's not what I need to do. That's not even something that I have done or have felt needed to do ever as a witch. I mean, there is a video on my channel where I'm making wet specimens. And I have talked about using eyes in spells, but I don't need to eat. What's the point of pledging your soul to Satan and getting all these dark powers from the devil if you have to consume animal eyes, animal eyeballs for that matter, in order to see and work with spirits? Like, come on, come on.
there was no safe place. Unable to process the abuse, she suppressed her memories.
The night terrors would continue and the dreams, and my brain was trying to sort it all out, work it all out. And, you know, it's a nightmare. It's an absolute nightmare. I felt like I was living a constant horror movie. A horror movie. That's how I describe it. A horror movie on Halloween.
A horror movie on Halloween. A horror movie on Halloween.
At 13 years old, she ran away from home, but the darkness.
Okay, so terrible, terrible home life, abuse, running away from home, darkness following them. You see these same tropes that are in this narrative as well. And this is also by the same platform that our last one was from. Like, these are the same people. And you would think that they would want to have some originality in their plays and their stories, but they don't.
She'd grown up with followed her. In her teens and 20s, Patricia read tarot cards and communicated with spirits.
Oh, she's reading tarot cards now, just like the last girl.
All the while, she lived in constant fear and darkness.
I was able to see demons and spirits and ghosts.
Well, that's what the eyeballs were for, right?
And as I got older, and I still continued those things. I had spiritual guides. I wanted power.
Right.
I wanted to have complete power over my life because I didn't have any power over my life when I was younger. Anytime that I try to get healing from the occult, the first thoughts that would come to my mind was to kill myself, in which I tried many times to do.
Girl.
Whether it be slicing my wrist or
Girl.
taking overdose of pills,
Lord.
ending up in the hospital, ending up
Ladies.
in psychiatric ward.
She longed for freedom, but did.
Okay. Yeah, that seems to also be a common theme in these narratives as well.
Nowhere to turn.
I wanted peace. I wanted to be happy, but I didn't know how to get it because I was afraid of God.
Why was she afraid of God? Like, it doesn't sound like she had even really met like the Christian God. Like, I'm so confused why she would be afraid of something that she's never interacted with. And also, like, this is a stretch. This is a stretch, right? Literally, hail, ma'am. Yes. Of course it's the same people. It suits the narrative. Exactly. This reminds me of the Christian camps that beat the gay out of people. Just like those places are not really Christian, this crap is not really Satanism or anything spiritual. Yes. Yes. Exactly. Ma'am, please relax.
I hated God. I didn't
She
want
hated
nothing
God.
to do with him.
She wanted nothing to do
I
with
was
him.
searching to be safe. I was searching for peace. I was searching
Not
to be
very well.
loved.
Not
Desperate,
very well.
Patricia went to church with a Christian friend. As the
Why did
church
she
worship,
go? Why did she go to a church when she just said she was afraid of God?
she felt the love of Jesus for the first time. Then she felt something else.
Everybody was praising the Lord, and I wanted to do what everybody was doing. I wanted to feel what they were feeling. I needed freedom. So I raised my hands.
Literally, if you were to replace Jesus in this narrative here with literally any other deity, they would call it dark-sided and occult and all of this mess, right? But here she is in some strange building where a group of people are chanting and are conjuring a holy ghost. And she feels left out because she wants to feel the power that they're feeling. Like they would label that like classic cult like behavior.
And a dark presence came up behind me and literally jerked my shoulder. I wasn't budging them. And
So you're telling me this entire time, up until this point, a dark presence is just now touching you, and what they're doing is tapping you on the shoulder. This is incredibly underwhelming as a climax. I am disappointed in this. Like, we started off so strong with this play, with this theatrics, and then this is the climax. You went to a church. You wanted to feel what other people were feeling in this church, even though you were afraid of their God. You still went. You felt the love of Jesus, but you didn't have what these other people had. Okay. Cringe, babes. Cringe.
I said, no, I'm not going. No, I'm not leaving. This is where I'm staying. And I continued and I just kept crying, Jesus, 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 Jesus. And then it started lifting, lifting, and lifting.
Right.
Patricia became a Christian and began a long journey to freedom.
Okay. All tea, no shade. You know how we can tell that hair? Let me just say that.
And wholeness with Jesus.
I got on my face and I said, I want to feel you moving in my life. I want to feel release from these strongholds. I want to feel peace. When I got up off the floor, he was there. He was there with me.
Oh.
And I started reading every scripture about him, the woman at the well.
Front to cover.
The woman
front to back.
Touched his garment. I was those women. The woman who was about to be stoned. I was all those women in one who needed him. I needed him to gradually show me that I could trust him.
Notice how we're playing like this inspirational music
through intense
now,
Christian
too.
counseling and prayer.
Christian
Patricia
counseling,
finally found the
prayer,
freedom and peace she had always wanted.
Freedom and
in
peace.
Christ.
Now I walk daily with joy, and I never forget to thank him every day for what he's done in my life.
I bet you do, girl.
Forget to thank him. And I enjoy life so much more. You know, it's later in my life, but you know, he's given me all those years back that the devil stole from me. If he can take someone like me, who was involved in all of that darkness.
Girl, what darkness? Hold on. What darkness were you involved in? Like, your story is you were forced into some sort of weird ritual situation when you were 5 years old, and then you spent most of your life being lost, and you dabbled in incense and tarot cards. I'm confused.
By it, and set me free and give me a whole new life. If he can take someone like me, who was into the occult so deep, into that darkness so deep, who was trapped by the enemy, and pull her up out of that hole, that pit of hell, and bring her into the light. He can do that for anyone. I don't care how.
Okay, so now we're getting to the evangelizing portion, where it's the same trope here in the narrative, where it's, I was lost and I was caught up in darkness, and he pulled me and uplifted me. He came inside me, washed all over me, wrapped me up in his warmth and his love. Like, girl, And then, he delivered me from that, so he can deliver you too. And it's evangelizing and it's brainwashing. And they're very, very specific about even the background music and the images that they are showing you, because they're clearly trying to create this propaganda. Clearly.
Deep they are into the occult, he can pull you out. It just takes just a few words. Jesus, help me. And he will be there. He will be there to help pull you out.
Okay. Okay. Right. So I see some of the commentary in the comment section. She dabbled in the occult. Right. Right. Do a dab for Debbie here. Ma'am, the story does not connect. Right. I'll stick to DoorDash for my deliveries. Yeah, thanks, Ivy. We're watching people who have been in the dark of witchcraft and Satanisms, and now they've found Jesus. There you go. Yeah, so I just recently... Okay, let me revisit how we got here for those of you just now hopping on. Basically, I had just recently filmed a Season of the Witch video, which is on my Patreon for early release, kind of discussing what the Season of the Witch is. And I've been up since 7 a.m. this morning. It's 10:30 now, my time. But I kind of was thinking when I was at work earlier about how this evangelical niche Christian community always likes to use the sort of like witch archetype as a way to create deliverance testimonies. And, there's some really funny ones too, where they talk about how when I was a witch and I worshiped the god Samhain, and you're just like, you worshipped the god Samhain, and you were a satanic high priestess. What? Like, most Satanists I know don't even follow the Wheel of the Year. Like, and most neo-pagans that I know are not worshiping Samhain either. So, make it make sense, babes. So, and also, if you're just now hopping on, look, some of the stuff has a lot of heavy subject matter. All of these narratives kind of follow a similar theme, right? You're going to have drugs and sexual assault and childhood trauma and religious trauma. So, like, I totally understand if some of this is like not your bag, you don't find it entertaining or funny. This video just isn't for you. I kind of decided last minute to do this because I remembered me and a friend of mine, when we would have sleepovers, we would drink fire water and we would watch some of these and we would get a real kick out of it, and we thought it was really funny. So, we're going to take like a little intermission here. I'm going to play some music. We're going to have a little intermission while I look for the next tape that we're going to watch. So if you're interested in seeing some more, stick around. I might push this stream. I see that we're like about 8 minutes from the hour, but I might push it and do like one more. Normally I try to keep the streams less than like an hour or less, but it's the Season of the Witch, and blessed be the witches. Blessed be. So I'm going to play some music, right? And we're going to roll the next tape. All right. I think I found another good one. Let's do it. Oh, let me turn off this music first. It is very October outside. All right. Share screen. Share audio. Now, this one is how Jenny Weaver was set free from Wiccan witchcraft and saved by Jesus. Also from the Christian Broadcasting Network. Shocker, right? We're shocked. We're literally shocked.
Coming up on TPI.
I got married my high school sweetheart, and we easily got pregnant and were devastated when.
For you today. First up, if you're anything like me, you look.
Love the changing seasons we have in this part of the world. Here in the U.S., we have 4 seasons. If you think about it, our lives are a season knowing what you need to know.
Let's get to the good stuff.
Thanks, Kathy.
Because I felt the way I felt.
Melissa Coles was an unmarried, poor, and pregnant 18-year-old.
Oh, this is Hope,
who felt she
Indiana.
only had 2 options.
I was scared out of my mind, and I was so conflicted that I could keep him. It wasn't too late. And the other, do what is easiest for everyone. As I'm walking in, my heart's racing. And doctor came in.
Okay.
God's helping us, and we just need to.
Where is the witchcraft?
And I couldn't get out the door fast enough.
Oh, I think it's coming up here.
I saw it as a way to.
Cotton Wiccan.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
Welcome back. My guest has an incredible story.
Oh,
She
yeah?
was once a homeless drug addict and self-cutting Wiccan.
Oh.
She now leads a worship movement
A
that's taken
Wiccan
social
drug
media
addict.
by storm. Her motto is simple. Don't just sing, release heaven. Welcome, Jenny Lee.
Thank you for having
Thank
me.
you so
Hello,
much
Jenny.
for joining us, Jenny. Now, for those who are not familiar, what's a Wiccan?
A Wiccan is a witch.
A witch. Now, you're an American. You live in America.
Mhm.
A witch in America. How on earth did you get into that?
I watched a
Wiccan
movie
is a
when I was in high
witch.
school called The Craft, and The Craft was about 4 teenage witches who had power and they had control. And so when I watched that, coming from a broken home, I saw it as a way to gain
The Craft
control.
was a great
And so
movie,
I began
girl.
to study the religion of Wiccan and became a witch.
Now, the other thing I said about you
I
is you
feel
were
like this
once
hat that
homeless,
she's wearing is
and
also
someone's
very
watching thinking,
Christian.
America, homelessness.
Yeah.
I mean, how does that happen? How did you become homeless?
I was 17.
How does
I got
one
kicked
become
out of my home,
homeless?
and my
Exactly,
parents
a
had split,
broken
so my one
home.
parent had moved away. So once my dad kicked me out, I ended up on the streets. I would call friends. Nobody was going to let me stay with them. So I
Poor
had my
girl.
backpack and I stayed on the streets.
Wow.
That's what I did all day.
Now,
Broken home?
What for
Broken
you
home.
was the turning point that led you to, I mean, because that's a world away from this phenomenon that you are now singing prophetic worship music that millions are tapping into on social media.
Millions.
What was the turning point for you from that to the Jesus walk?
I
The
was
Jesus
on
walk.
drugs, cutting myself, being suicidal, just in a dark place for about 9 years of this.
9 years of
To the
this,
point of me
y'all.
even like sleeping in people's backyards. They didn't even know I was there, just out of my mind. And I got so desperate. I got pregnant with my daughter, who's 10 now. and I needed to get off the drugs. I didn't know what to do. And so I screamed at the
We
top of my
never
lungs one night. I
thought to
said,
use the
God,
craft to help
help
you.
me. And I just fell to my knees
Oh,
and
she
just
fell
really
on her
surrendered
knees.
to God. I knew that if God did not help me, I would end up dead.
Okay, can we just talk about how we haven't even talked about any rituals or real craft that she's done? Like we skipped over some very like traditional steps here. This story's a little different from their usual narrative, right? Because like what happened to like the dark conjuring aspect that they always have? What happened to spirits coming around them? Like we went straight from I'm a Wiccan drug addict to this. Like, come on. Where's the rest of it?
Or in prison. I was actually running from the cops at that time for a year and a half. I had a warrant for my arrest, and God radically took me out of that situation, got me help. This was just a couple days after I'd prayed that. And from that day, I've been serving the Lord and on fire for God ever since. And he's been teaching me worship. He's been training me in the secret place.
Now, on a practical note, so you cried out to God, and then did you end up in someone's home or church somewhere? Or you ended up
in a jail cell. Yes, that's
now,
where
someone
I went.
would say that doesn't sound like an answer to prayer, but it was.
And you know what? When the police came, I was so used to running and lying. I could have easily done that and continued on, but I felt it's time to surrender. Mind you, I was pregnant. I had not eaten in 5 days. I had not slept. I wasn't getting any pregnancy care. So when I saw them, I was relieved. I knew I would be able to eat.
Which let's talk about that
get
secret
a shower,
place too.
have a bed. So I was happy to go. And then I went into rehab. I actually asked the judge, please put me in a rehab, because if I go back out there, I'll use drugs again. And
so in terms of your knowledge of Jesus and knowing what to do, who to talk to, who...
Let me say this. The reason why all of this sounds made up is because it is. And this one is also, in particular, very messy and sloppy, this propaganda, because like where is all the horrible evil witchcraft? Like we just went straight from I had an issue in my past to God helped fix it. Like exactly. Okay, let's get back into it.
Who were some of the key people that were instrumental in that knowledge of Jesus and that journey too?
Right. My mom gave her life to Christ when I was born. I was actually born addicted to heroin.
So this entire time, your mom was a strong Christian influence. Like, girl, what?
And she was a heroin addict. My father was a heroin addict. So once I was born, she saw me going through withdrawals. She gave her life to Christ, and she's still living for the Lord. And
where
so
was
I was
she in your
brought up in a
childhood?
Christian home, a very Pentecostal home, and I was filled with the Holy Spirit at 6 years old. And so I was raised that way. Although I went astray, I always knew when to come back. I always knew. My mom would say, if you're in trouble, call on the name of Jesus, plead the blood of Jesus. And so even when I was in the world, I knew to go back to Jesus. And so the scripture remains true.
Girl, I don't think
Train
you
up a
ever
child in the way
left.
that they should go. When they get older, they will not depart from it.
I don't think she ever left. Okay.
My mom would say that, and today it's fulfilled in my life.
Now,
oh my gosh, Hale, you're killing me. Yes. What? Like what?
Lots of your journey you capture in your book, The Sound of Freedom, how to bring the God of breakthrough into your toughest struggles.
Yes.
And you're able to talk more about that than we can talk on air. But where you're at now, as I said, they call you the lady that sings the scriptures.
Yes.
Why is it?
Yeah.
I know you're going to say it's God and it's revelation, but you just sing what we call prophetic songs. So it's not a song that you've sat down and you've...
A couple days span of time, people gave their life to Christ. People were healed, instantly healed. And
My son's just learned that by heart.
Really? The
I'm
whole
telling you,
thing?
the whole end when the program is over.
Okay.
Follow up.
I think the fun witchcraft portion of that is done, sadly. So, yeah, cringe, babes. Cringe. Do any of you have any suggestions? Anything for the stream that you would like to have commented on? I think she's probably made like a decent amount of money. I mean, she's this. It's funny too how she's talking about how she does this, like she's the singing prophetess or whatever. Like, that's funny. Tell me that's not divination. Let me know, comment down below if there's any like crazy Christian testimonies that you would like me to react to. Or if you're watching this as a replay, send me some stuff to watch and we can do another live of this during the season of the witch. But yeah, I was hopping on here. I wanted to kind of point out some of these like narratives that all of these testimonies tend to have. You know, they either came from a Christian household and things went left, or they never knew God. And their home life was broken. They got into witchcraft, heavy metal, and drugs, and were having or were being, and things just went downhill from there. So, and then normally in the narrative, they dabble in witchcraft and they never really can explicitly say what kind of rituals they were doing when they were a witch. My favorite ones, which I was trying to find this one in particular of this woman who was talking about how she was a satanic Wiccan high priestess, and her coven worshipped the god Samhain. I was trying to find that one for you guys tonight, but I can't find it anywhere here on YouTube. Some of the like most hilarious testimonies of these are from like the 90s, the 80s and the 90s, especially during like the satanic panic era. Yeah, I never purchased any of Doreen's decks at all. Went right by them. They've seemed off. Yeah, Doreen Virtue done lost her virtue, honey. That's for sure. I have a couple of her decks from like back in the day where I worked at a new age store, and I had gotten a couple. I had gotten like a unicorn one, and then I got a goddess one. But Doreen Virtue was always kind of vaguely Christian as well. And then she's kind of come out and renounced all of this spirituality and everything, psychic abilities. And she was a huge kind of like psychic name in the community. I would go so far as to say that Doreen Virtue was kind of almost like a Joel Osteen, but of like the new age world. Published tons of decks and had tons of workshops and just lost her virtue. And apparently Jesus came to her, sat on her bed, and told her that she was taking people to hell and she had to stop doing what she was doing. But there was always a Christian undercurrent to her stuff. Like there was always saints and biblical figures woven into like it was New Ageism, really. Kat Von D also, yes. Yes. Well, I'll see if I can find another one for us, you guys. I'm going to put on some music and a background again, and I'll see if I can find another one. So stick around if you'd like. Guys, if you're just now hopping on this stream, this is going to involve some heavy content. If you have some like religious trauma, or if, you know, stuff like this is not what you feel like you have the emotional spoons for tonight, like this might not be the video for you. I personally find stuff like this hilarious. I find it sick, and like it's really crazy how they make out the craft to be a propaganda for their deliverance testimonies. And as a practicing witch and as a high priestess, I do like to watch these because there's never any validity to it. Like, I would like to watch one with someone I could really believe walked the spiral path for even one day. Like, I would really like to watch a testimony of someone who had this crazy experience by being a practicing witch and can actually convince me that they were ever a practicing witch to begin with. So let's do the next one. Okay, so I have found us another one. Let's get into it. This is also by the same people. Like when you type in X witch testimony, there is so much propagated by just this one platform. It's unreal. Oh, hold on. I need to share it with audio. I don't think I did that. Share screen. Share audio. Okay. I'm done, you guys, with that. Oh, goodness. So that was a roller coaster of theatrics. That was a lot. Let me know if you guys have enjoyed this stream. I think I would like to do this again during the season of the witch, in honor of the season of the witch. I really hope that those of you who are watching this live have enjoyed this. And if you're watching the replay and you've made it this far, I hope that you've enjoyed it as well. Like I said, I was kind of inspired to do this because I was reminiscing when a friend of mine, we would drink fire water and we would watch these because we are both practicing witches, and it's just funny as a practicing witch to watch these testimonials because they never really make any sense. Like they never really talk about like actual craft stuff, and they just kind of use like a lot of buzzwords, and they all follow this same like scripted narrative. So it's just interesting to watch them as a practitioner, because clearly this content is not made for us. Like this content is made to evangelize and to deliver in their community and to somehow create like a weird sense of like confirmation of their faith by just continuously demonizing us. And it's a one-sided thing, really. Like I said earlier, I've been a practicing witch now, like a little over a decade. I was, interested in the craft even when I was in high school, casually interested, I would say. And like I've never met a witch who like really has it out for Christians. I've met witches who have been traumatized by Christians. Sure. I've met witches who, you know, feel some type of way, but not like going out of their way to attack physically or spiritually. Like this whole spiritual warfare thing is a one-sided battle. Like, because we don't care. Never once have I driven through neighborhoods and wasted energy by throwing out baneful magic just willy-nilly, driving through neighborhoods. And like, ugh, it's stupid. It's just stupid. I'm glad that you guys have enjoyed this. I have no idea what doing this for my channel will do, like, because this is my first time, like, screen sharing stuff live. So I wouldn't be surprised if this video does not get monetized or gets monetization rights taken from it or whatever. I was thinking maybe it would fall under like fair trade, but who knows? If it doesn't, it doesn't. That's okay. Because I still had fun with it. So if I don't make a whole whopping $2 off of doing this live stream, I think I'll live. So yeah, thank you guys though for engaging with me and for laughing with me over some of this. And if you have any videos that you would like to hear my commentary on, you know, send me some links. I will make sure that my links are posted in the description down below. I don't think that they are now. The best ways to get a hold of me, if you guys want to talk or send me stuff, is DMing me on Instagram, which my Instagram name is just like my screen name. So that's the best way to get a hold of me. I don't know, Rixie. I don't know the answer to this. Couldn't tell you. And you know, here's the thing. When I started doing YouTube, it was just purely because I wanted to interact with an online craft community. And like, it wasn't so much like I was trying to make my YouTube channel like a career. And I still don't know if that's like, I mean, I still don't think that that's what I want necessarily. Like if I make some money from making YouTube videos, cool. If I make some extra residual income, cool. But like that's not my main motive. Like I do this because I genuinely enjoy it and I love interacting with other witches online. I mean, I live, breathe, and eat witchcraft. So like this is what fulfills me and fuels me. So if I make a couple bucks from a video here and there, cool. But I'm definitely not like rolling in money from YouTube. That's for sure. I'm just reading your guys' comments. Yeah, please send me some links. And like I said, the best place like to contact me, you can definitely leave stuff down below in the comment section. Or you can message me on Instagram. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm going to, I think, end this video now. I've been up since 7 a.m. my time and it's 11:17 p.m. So even though I'm having a ton of fun and this is like a really nice way, I think, for me to have spent my Friday evening. Tomorrow I will be downtown doing like some birthday shenanigans, which I really hope to see some of you maybe down there. But this has been a nice way to spend my Friday night. So thank you guys. I'm going to end the stream now. You know, love to you all. Blessed be. See you in hell. Period. Period. Oh. Mm. Mm-mm-mm.